and today is going to be a sit down and chat type of video. We're going to discuss something that's kind of been on my mind since I did my Midnight Sun book review, and that was one of my first videos, funny enough. I just remember doing the video and after it thinking, I really need to talk about this because I don't think it's talked about enough in the booktube universe in just discussing books or movies or life. I think it's kind of touched on, but it's something that I think I really struggle with as a reader and as a fangirl and just with things I enjoy. And that has to do with when I was talking about how Stephenie Meyer really catered Midnight Sun to her audience who now has grown up, has been through things, are older. And I think that's very smart of her. That was very smart of her. But if I had read that book back when I was reading Twilight for the first time, when I was 13, 14, 12, however old I was, would I have understood it? Would I have still liked it? Would I have still appreciated it? Um, and I don't know if I would have. I think I would have had a lot of questions at that age and not really have gotten a lot of things that she kind of put between the lines, and I wouldn't have gotten to analyze it as critically as I did. And I just kind of maybe it makes me think that if the books that I didn't like back then in general, did I not like them because I was not at the certain age I should have been to enjoy them? Or was I just too young to read them, to grasp the material that they were bringing about? I don't know. But I remember not liking Eclipse for specific reasons, and now that I'm older, I understand things a little bit more about it. Um, so I don't know if Midnight Sun would have just been another eclipse for me, maybe a different eclipse. I don't know because I think Midnight Sun just has a lot of material that I wouldn't have processed at that age. Um, Now, that being said, this is what happened, and it was smart of her, and it is what it is, and I enjoyed it, and I'm happy that I enjoyed it, and I'm happy with the result. But I haven't reread Twilight in a very, very long time, and I have reread Twilight 3 times, but that was back when in my early teens. So I'm wondering now if I reread Twilight, would it still kind of hit the same feels, you know? I feel like it would. I feel like it's up there with Percy Jackson for me and Harry Potter. Um, but now, of course, that I'm older, and I also brought this up, that I understand a lot of the cheesiness in Twilight. I understand a lot of things that people say about Twilight, how it kind of makes them cringe a bit and everything. I understand that, but I still love it because of my experience with it at the time, the memories, and I love a good cheesy, cringy book if it's done well. And I felt that Twilight was done well, even when I was younger. But at the same time, I was younger. I was going through different things. I was caught up in the fandom. There's so many things were going on, and I loved. I was a hopeless romantic. I still am, but it was just like it was a different time, and so I feel like if I reread, like, say, Eclipse, I probably would understand more things. But if I reread Twilight, I feel like it would not exactly be the same, even though I feel like it would still be up there again, like I said, like with things I love and probably won't change how I feel about them. But I feel like, again, there's certain things that I would notice more, and I don't really want to put myself through that and think so much negative things about it because it was such a beautiful time in my life and something that I enjoy. But then there's so many people also who are rereading Twilight, and I just I don't know if I would be one of those people because it's just one of those particular series where I'm just like I kind of don't want to go there. But I've reread Percy Jackson, feel the same way. I love it. Nothing can ruin that. But there are little things I notice, but it's not that bad. I finished Harry Potter at like my early no was I when did I finish it? Right before I think I finished high school, and then I was in college already. So it's a whole different that's a whole other thing. um so I was in college and high school, so it was like my late teens, early adults, like right around there. So Harry Potter is just one of those things, you know, like, I can watch the movies to an extent. The Percy Jackson movies, can't watch those at all. The Twilight movies, it's one of those things where I need to be in the mood for. Again, like, I feel like Twilight's like the bottom of like those three. Um, and so yeah, those are probably like some of the many things that I still have like a huge attachment to, and I could probably get through or watch or reread, and I, except Percy Jackson, would not have a problem with it. Can't watch Percy Jackson. Don't do it. Anyway, uh the Disney Plus series. I'm so excited. Um so anyways, I just feel like those type of things I can get through. Um and there's other things where I feel like they're so near and dear to my heart, where I can rewatch them, I can reread them, I can be around them, and it just makes me feel like nostalgic and great and at peace and happy. And then there's a lot of things that just the memory of that is good enough for me. I have not touched or looked at it again in fear that I will not like it, or I will critique it, or I will not be able to enjoy it as much. And I feel like that has happened with some books, some movies, some TV shows, and I had a difficult time being able to process like, okay, it was what it was. I was younger, obviously. I have the discussion all the time with my brother and sister that TV shows are just not what they were back then. And I still stand 100% on that. Like, it just, I will not change my mind on that. But I also have seen a couple of shows that I watched as a kid, and it makes me raise an eyebrow. I'm just like, I used to watch that. It's not as bad as I would think the shows nowadays, not trying to judge, but I just think, my time was a precious time. Um, so yeah, it's I think it's easier for kids shows because it's like you were a kid, like so like Blue's Clues and Teletubbies, like I can laugh and play around and make fun of those things and still love them, and still they are very near and dear to my heart, because I grew up with them. Uh, and I can acknowledge that I am older and I can just appreciate them for what they were. Other things can be completely ruined in that aspect, and I would not. It's hard for me. It's like I will not rewatch them, or I will not look at them again. And if I do, find something that, if I do rewatch something or reread something and I find that I don't like anymore because of X, Y, and Z, it makes me sad, you know? So I was thinking back to the series that I read as a kid, The Tale of Emily Winsnap, and back then, I don't know if it's the same right now. I haven't looked in a very long time, but mermaid stories were not as good as they could have been, especially for kids, like kids books. Like, it's just like, other than The Little Mermaid and maybe a couple of others, like I just didn't find very good mermaid stories. So that was one of the series that I loved, and then they had the last one. I finished it when I was like, I think in middle school. Like, it lasted all the way to middle school, and I was like, because I'm very much a child at heart, so it just was like, yeah, like it ended in middle school. I was fine with that. I was still at the age and in the mindset where I enjoyed it, and then they brought it back when I was, I think, in my second, no, in my third year, yeah, my early third year, first semester of community college. And I was like, I just want to feel all the feels. I want to read it, because the fans wanted it back, which I don't understand because the fans would have been older. So why write a book that is basically written exactly the same, geared towards kids? And if anything, it felt like it was even younger in the writing style, and like it was for younger kids. It just was weird. And I felt like kind of like a piece of my childhood had been ripped away from me, because I just was like, what is this? I do not enjoy this. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm older, or that they brought it back after all this time, or it, there were just so many things that it could have been, and it was just really frustrating. I didn't want to put myself through that again. So now I have like this thing where I just like, I have to be really, really critical if I want to watch something again or reread something again. It just, it's hard. Um, so what are like the rules, the criteria that say, hey, this thing is gonna be okay, and you're still gonna have all the feelings and feel all the nostalgia vibes, no matter how old you are, and still appreciate it. And what is gonna ruin basically every memory you've had with it. And I don't think there really are any. Other than the fact where I'm going back to like the whole Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and Twilight thing, I think they were just so big and so important, just kind of like cemented into us how wonderful they were and how they just made us who we were and helped us grow and why we loved it so much. I mean, for crying out loud, there's like a whole world for Harry Potter. There's rides. We're still fighting for the Percy Jackson remakes, and it's actually happening. Like, you know, it's just like Midnight Sun came out, and like we're still talking about Twilight years later because this thing was just this huge thing that, yes, now that we're older, maybe we view things a little bit differently. But for the most part, if we loved it, and it's like, how could you not? Because it was just kind of there, and it's still there, and it's still talked about, and just the grandness of it. And I feel like in terms of other things, it's sort of like you pick and you choose. It is what it is. It depends on how big or profound an effect they had on your life, what memories you have with them. If you choose to travel down that road of rewatching it and you don't like it, like, did it really like mess up anything for you? Or like, did it not? Like, it's just, there's certain things I feel like that will change your perspective on it, but you can still appreciate it, or you're able to see it from a different view in a different light. And then those things that will always stick with you no matter what, no matter how cheesy they are when you look at them. And then there's those things that maybe you shouldn't rewatch or reread because you don't want to change those memories that you have with them. Those memories are what those memories are, and you just kind of want it to be what it is. But how do you know that? Like, and you don't. You really don't. Um, so I think it's just a tricky game, and you just kind of have to pick and choose, and whatever it is whatever it is. But if you want to appreciate something and it has a good memory in your heart, let that good memory stay. Let it be what it is, even if you kind of ruined it for yourself. Just focus on what it was. And I think that's what's important, because these memories help shape us. These memories help, again, make us who we are. And, even though we're different and there's so many aspects of our personality and our reality that make us question things in different ways or look at things in different ways, we were a certain way at one point. We were different people at one point, and we grew, and we should be proud of that growth, and we should also acknowledge what led us to that growth. And I feel like I'm getting too analytical about all this, but it's really true. Um, I think it's just, you want to appreciate something, you want it to stay in your memory, let it be so. And if not, then don't let it be so. But I don't know why you would want to do that unless it's something bad. Um, and if something happens with it, still just let it be so. And yeah, I don't know what more to say than with that. But it is something that I think I struggle with and a lot of people struggle with, because at this age, as an English major, as someone who overthinks, it's hard not to critique, to look at things and be like, huh? Why? This, that. And as someone whose childhood is very important to them and helps them in who they are and not helps them who they are, helps them in their writing and has made them who they are. And you really hold on to certain things because those things are what my professor used to call kind of like the things that have heat, the things that from your memory that are really important, that shape you, that kind of provide that thing that drives you in your writing or that's important, and that you could use to really capture something. um, it becomes really sad when something like a memory is kind of ruined. That can help you grow too, but like that's a topic for another video if need be. Um, but I feel like yes, something can be ruined for you. Something can ruin the memory of it, the nostalgia of it, whatever it may be. But only if you allow it to, you know? And either way, you can always remember it for the good that it was. I feel like that's how I was when I read Blood of Olympus and I literally cried because I thought I just didn't like it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let this ruin my memories of the series. This series made me grow and help shape me as an individual. It was one of the many reasons why I was a reader, why I wanted to write. So yes, I was a 19-year-old crying over a young adult book. But I have no regrets because it was a tragic time in my life. But anyway, I did not let that one moment ruin everything, every memory that I had of this series, of these characters, of my time with it, of me walking to class with it in my hand, with me sitting on the field and reading it, with me bringing it to lunch, with me talking about it with my friends, and then later bringing it to college and reading it there, and coming home and doing essays in MLA and then reading it. Like, it just, there's so many good memories. And I'm like, I don't want that to ruin that. And it took some time to figure it out. It wasn't from one day to another. I just was like, I'm not gonna let this one little thing affect how I feel about this and affect my memories with it and the beautiful times that I had with it. It's not worth it. And I can still remember this tragic incident for what it was, and that can be some other thing again to help me grow, or that happened and now is part of my memories as well, but it's not part of that. This is something that's important to me that I still want to cherish, you know? Um, and so, yeah, I think it's still kind of a pick and choose game, but I think once it all falls into place, it all falls into place. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this whole situation. This video got way too analytical and maybe way too philosophical. um, but I feel like it kind of worked. But yeah, I hope that you guys all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all real soon. Bye!